104.7 The Cave, Mikey Intern, Jay Stevens in the studio. It is Dark Side of the Stream, episode 180.
180. Wow, gosh.
Jay gets the evens. I got the odds.
Still alive.
This week on the Dark Side of the Stream, Jay decided to pick a documentary that was on Hulu or Disney Plus, because it's kind of the same thing now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Glitch in the Matrix, which talks about the simulation theory. Let's start with our thought on that. Do you think we're living in a simulation, Jay Stevens?
I don't, but people way smarter than me say that it's plausible. So.
Why don't you think we're living in a simulation?
I mean, I guess it could be possible. I guess maybe.
Well, no. Like if you,
I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's too real, but then again, so is VR sometimes.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, dude. When was the last time you tried a VR?
Elon Musk says it's more probable than not that we're in a simulation.
I thought the interesting thing was that whenever they were making the analogy between our knowledge and like what we thought the brain was, right? Through history.
Yeah, right.
And like right now, the smartest thing we got is computers. So we think the brain is a computer, right? But we haven't beyond that. So what is it beyond that? I don't know.
This thing, I saw this documentary floating around for years and I never really clicked it. And then I was like, I'll give it a click. It was kind of a little bit weird. If you got through the weirdness though, there was
we'll definitely talk about some of the weirdness
in there,
down the road. Personally, I don't know. I think there's certain things that happen in life that it's hard not to discuss the plausibility of us being in a simulation.
Like deja vu.
I just finished the 3-Body Problem trilogy, and there are a lot of things in that make you think that maybe it wouldn't be so hard for some being in a fourth, fifth dimension to create something on this level, just like we're able to create dimensions for things in the 2D and 1D.
And it's getting better and better and better.
And the smaller we get, the more concise it gets, the easier it gets.
Yeah, you figure if there was a civilization that was 1,000 years more advanced or 10,000 years, a million years more advanced,
I mean,
they could create something like this. Yeah.
And the other thing too that's very odd, and this is kind of beyond the simulation theory, is that now they're saying that the universe is expanding at different rates in different places. So it's not all going out at the same time.
Right. And that we've been around a lot longer than we think.
Also, that returns to the whole thing is essentially in a circle, that it goes and it comes back and then it goes and it comes back. And it's just a cycle. So that would also kind of lead itself into a simulation theory, if that's possible or plausible. Either way, we're going to talk about what these weirdos had to say about it.
There was some good weirdos
in
too.
The Matrix.
Can we make avatars like they did?
That's what we're talking about next. Don't spill the candy. We'll be back. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. .7 The Cave, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. It is Dark Side of the Stream, episode 180, Glitch in the Matrix. Now, do you want to talk about Philip K. Dick? I'll give you the choice. You want to talk about Philip K. Dick first, or do you want to talk about the weirdos in this that went strictly from their avatars and not in there? What do you want to do first? You want to do the weirdos or K. Dick?
I want to do the weirdos first, because that's what we had to get through to get to the meat of the good stuff.
Jay warned me.
I did warn you.
Hey, man, there's a little weird stuff going on in the beginning. And so when Jay says that, I'm like, oh my God, what weird stuff is this to Jay? Well, it wasn't like
just some computer nerds.
It was essentially all these guys who had either knowledge or experiences where they believe we are in a simulation theory. They went through with their avatars. Now, I think that was to sell the fact that where we are right now, this body that you're seeing is an avatar. Jay's body is also an avatar. But
I wish they would have made mine a little bit better anatomically.
That's a whole nother discussion. The whole thing about that is, though, it goes like a line with a lot of these conspiracy theorists and like
flat earthers,
aluminum foil hat guys and all this stuff, where it's like, you want to, like the Oxford dude who actually wrote a scientific paper about are we living in a simulation, that like literally scientifically put down these arguments. It's a hypothesis. And if you know anything about science, it doesn't mean it's fact. It's just a theory,
right?
Prove or disprove.
Test it, right?
that's to me, that's the stuff that I'll read. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It's just, that's
a scientific angle, and sometimes those come true, and sometimes they prove to be false.
It's a hypothesis.
Yeah, you never know.
Just like we thought the Earth was the center of the universe 1,000 years ago versus the Earth's flat.
There's a lot of things we've thought. Yeah.
Do that. You're everything, because at some point in time in history, all the things and knowledges came through fluids in our body. That's what they thought. That's what you put in is what you got.
They thought
that's not the way.
Lightning was caused by the gods. You know.
Again, so it's scientific hypothesis, and it's not right or wrong. But when you get these other dudes that are in there and they're like using their avatars, or it's like, some weird guy with a brain helmet and
so cool, that one.
Lion thing.
That one was cool.
Ollie did not. As soon as that thing came on,
did he dip?
Oh yeah.
Oh no, he was scared of the brain man.
I'm not watching that stuff. I was like, yeah, I don't blame you. I don't really want to watch it either, to be honest with you.
Uncle Jay, blame it on Uncle Jay.
Your credibility is out the window. It's like, how am I supposed to take this dude seriously?
Well, I thought maybe they were trying to hide their identities.
Hiding from who? If there are beings out there that are so powerful, they can create a simulation.
They're gonna know you made an avatar.
All these people that are doing it,
they're gonna know it's you in the avatar.
No, it doesn't matter if I'm in an avatar as Princess Peach now.
Yes, I wish you were. I wish you were.
So who are they hiding from? The government?
Yeah, I don't know.
They know who you are, buddy.
Aliens, they all know. They know who you are. AI, they know who you are.
Some all-knowing being that's created this.
He knows who you are,
bro. He's probably put this in the code, and he knows exactly what you're doing.
He probably anticipated you using the avatar.
That turned me off so quick.
I told you. If you get through that part, there's some good meat in there.
The good meat in really, it's all, again, where this kind of simulation theory started, which it wasn't where it started, but really where it started to kind of gain a little bit momentum is from a science fiction author known as Philip K. Dick. You probably known him. He's the guy who wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is
Man in the High Castle too.
Man in the High Castle. Total Recall. There are a billion of them.
A lot of these
got ripped off big time in the 80s, especially after he died of a stroke. Hollywood just said, "Oh man, we got a lot of ideas from this crazy guy."
Didn't he have something to do with the creation of Blade Runner as well?
Yeah. It's Do Androids a Dream of Electric Sheep. That's the name of the story. But we're going to talk about him next and what he presented in kind of a weird fashion. The Glitch in the Matrix continues next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Mike, the intern, Jay Stevens, back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 180.
Woo!
This is.
All right, I'm using an avatar, so no one knows who I am.
Which is funny because even though it's a little bit younger version of Jay, the current version of Jay, I think, looks better than.
Oh, thank you.
So anyway, this all kind of started in the late 70s when
drugs were involved.
Well, no, that's before this, and we'll get to that. Philip K. Dick decides to do a kind of like a Q&A in France, and everyone shows up to ask him questions about some of the books that he wrote.
Right, because he wrote some wild stories.
He was a Hugo award-winning author in the 60s. He wrote a million stories for a lot of the sci-fi magazines.
Great sci-fi ideas.
Turned them into stories. Man in the High Castle is incredible. If you've never read it, you definitely should.
It's on Amazon as well.
Yeah, it is, and they canceled it, but you should just read the book. He's a good writer. He's a little bit crazy though. But anyway, he's in France, and everyone's kind of expecting him to just kind of go through his book, but instead, he sits down and he talks about how he believes that we are living in a simulation that's computer driven. For someone in that time period to even think that something like this could even exist,
it's a crazy thought.
Insane,
right?
But he had a really good imagination. I mean, if you read some of his books, what he was able to create, it's not outside the realm of possibility that this is just another idea. But he basically claims through his experiences that after given a huge dose of sodium pentanol, he had essentially a paranormal experience where he was able to experience multiple timelines all at once.
That's where he got the ideas for these, was from this glitch in the Matrix.
No. Well, some
for
of
the
that.
stories.
So the religious writing he created after this, they actually tried to put together in a book, and it's called The Exegesis of Philip K. Dick. It's very, very weird. There's some it's before we get into that, though, you've got to also understand that Philip K. Dick was a very imaginative guy, but he also had some extreme mental issues. He also was a long-time drug addict. He used a ton of amphetamines, a ton of pills, a ton of things while he was writing these stories. He was under the influence heavily when he wrote A Scanner Darkly. And all these, like A Scanner Darkly specifically, I think was due to what he experienced after he went under that sodium pentanol, whenever they were trying to get rid of one of his impact and wisdom teeth.
Well, he says that he saw this stuff in a vision or whatever.
And some of the things that he did, he would later on use to create some of these stories. But A Scanner Darkly also is a very, very weird book. It's been made into a movie that's also very strange. It's not bad, but at the same time, it's very weird. So I just wanted to lay all that out there just to say that, like, look, I'm not saying what he says isn't true, but you also need to understand this is coming from a guy who has a very, very deranged mind. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that there is a lot of substance behind him. Just all of a sudden, I'm a sci-fi writer and I've got this theory. There's a lot of things behind that too.
Well, now, can I go super tinfoil hat on this one?
Put it on, brother.
If you were a person who created a simulation and simulation broke through and saw what's going on and then told everybody, wouldn't you fry his mind and say that, and they can think everybody think he's crazy?
Well, if that's true,
that's levels now.
Again,
levels.
Let's go back to an all-knowing being that creates the simulation. He made that speech in 1979. Okay,
amazing.
It took them 3 years to fry him out. Okay. Again, if the dude was doing that, they wouldn't it wouldn't be that way.
Very weird.
Essentially, the way Philip K. Dick died was that he called his therapist one day and he said that he was having failing eyesight and couldn't see. The therapist said, I think you might be having a stroke, dude. You should go to the hospital. Well, guess what? He didn't go to the hospital and he was found dead in his house the next day after suffering another stroke, which led him to brain death. So he probably suffered a minor stroke, didn't get the help he needed, and then the final one is what took him out. Again, not saying what he said wasn't wrong, but it did set a lot of people down this path to believe that we are possibly in a simulation. And we'll get to our reviews next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7.
Mm-hmm.
104.7 The K, Mike the Intern, back in the studio with real Jay Stevens.
I'm back. The avatar has gone.
Stream, episode 180. We discussed Glitch in the Matrix. And honestly, my dude, I think we actually did a better job in this, 15 minutes, 20 conversation about
it could have been shorter for sure.
About how this thing
could have been shorter for sure.
Again, I actually had a conversation with someone about flat earth. A buddy of his was a big flat earther and was showing him different evidences about how that could possibly be real. And what I told him was, I said, it's one of those cases where a lot of those guys just look to point to things to prove their point. But really, in reality, all those things that are like, whoa, will go more in line with the simulation theory, in my opinion, if that's actually what is going on. Who knows? I mean, at the end of the day,
you never know.
I don't think we're ever going to find out, at least in our lifetime. I know that you and I have thought that we would have disclosure by now.
Yeah, we've been waiting on that stuff.
A year going, and that
what? Also, the side note is, and I know they touched on it a little bit in this documentary, but the Matrix, the whole story, how that's kind of almost coming to fruition. Terminator and Matrix with AI and all that and VR, so maybe we're headed. Who knows where we're headed. You can let us know after we're dead and gone, kids.
As like I said, I literally just finished the 3-body problem, and it is
I have one body problem.
Yeah, well,
body part problem.
It's one of those things where you kind of get a whole different look about humanity, and I think that's important sometimes to kind of take a step back and look at where we are, what would happen, what we're going to, and that book series definitely opened my eyes to
Interesting.
That.
Nice.
Very, very cool. I'm trying to decide what we should watch next week for Dark Side of the
Yeah, it's kind of slim
Stream.
pickings right now out
And
there.
there's a lot of really interesting shows, but I think more specifically, this one just came out on Netflix, and we've decided to talk about this stuff. But I think it is interesting because it also plays in line with where we are in humanity. And the documentary is called "The Antisocial Network: Memes to Mayhem."
The Antisocial Network.
The Antisocial
Okay,
Network.
I like it. Memes to
And
Mayhem.
I think it's going to be a good conversation, especially for
like
two guys that do a lot on social media
Yeah.
and can see the sometimes bad in that.
Yes, I can.
Either way, watch it between now and next Thursday. You can always watch us do this live on Facebook at 9 a.m. on Facebook or YouTube, or listen to it as a podcast on our 104.7 The Cave app for free, or during my show at 9 a.m. or Jay's show at 6 p.m. every Thursday. I am Mike the Intern.
Wait, I'm turning the avatar back on.
That's the real. Nope, that's the avatar, Jay Stevens, and this is Dark Side of the Stream.
We watch documentaries, so you don't have to.
It's Dark Side
Good
of the
thing
Stream.
the avatar remembered that.
104.7 The Cave.